What's up guys, welcome back, and in this video I'd like to explore the real-time database features of Firebase and Firestore. In the last video we wired up our to-do app with Firebase, and now I'd like to use the real-time features of the database so every client syncs up automatically whenever a change is made. So here's an example. I have two instances of this app opened, and here is the database. And every time I make a change, it's synced across everywhere. So if I add one here, you'll see that it syncs up, and you'll see it there. If I edit them, they all get synced up. If I delete it, and everything works. So that's really cool. I personally think this is one of Firebase's coolest features. This is all done within Firebase. No external services are needed like Pusher or Socket.io. Now this is totally possible to do in Laravel, but requires an external service to handle WebSockets. If you're interested, I have a video on how to do this in Laravel using Laravel Echo, Pusher, and Vue. Okay, so here's our app from the previous video. There's no real-time capabilities yet, so if I add one here, you'll see that it won't sync up in this other client. We have to refresh it first. Okay, so if you go into the documentation, you'll see a section here for getting real-time updates. And the example they give here is on a specific document, but we want updates, we want to listen for updates on the entire collection. If you scroll down more, there's another example here where you can listen in on an entire collection. When in this case it's a query, but if we remove this query, we can listen in on an entire collection, and we have these conditionals here to check if the type is adding a document, modifying a document, or removing a document. So let me go ahead and grab all of this code and we'll modify it for our needs. Okay, so I'm going to go here in our root component, the to-do list, and the same way we're getting this retrieve to-dos action once we create this component, let's do the same thing, but let's call another action called, let's call it init real-time listeners. Okay, let's go back to our store and let's add that action. So init real-time listeners. Okay, and let me paste that code in. Okay, let me change this to to-dos. And like I said, they're querying a set of documents, and we don't want that. We want to listen in on the entire collection, so we just remove that. Let me just move this up, and let me just change this to ES6 arrow functions. And same with this one. And let me just change these console logs. Let me just change it to added and updated and removed. Okay, so let me open up the console and you can see that our initialize ran there, and let's see if we are correctly listening in for events to happen. So if I change the database, so for this one is 3, so if I change this, let's see if we get that in the console. We changed, and there it is right there. you can see it with the new data coming in. And let's see if it also happens for delete. So delete is up here. Delete document. Okay, there it is, removed. And see if it happens for add as well. So how do you add one? Add document. Okay, so let me just add this and let's see if our event fires. And there it is. So we are correctly listening in on events that happen once our database is updated. So now in our code, all we have to do for each of these cases is update our local state. And all we have to do that is just call our mutation. Or if we're not using Vue.js, just update our state. So let's start with added. Let me just comment this out for now. And all we're going to do for added is call that add to do mutation. And this is just updating our local to-dos array. And we're going to give it the new data. So ID is change.doc.id. Title is change.doc.data function.title. And since we're adding, completed is false. Okay, let's see if this works. So if I add one here now, this other client should automatically be adding it as well. So let's try. Okay, so that worked. On this side, everything looks okay, but over here, it looks like it tried to add it twice. And it did add it twice, actually. It added it twice on our local app, but it didn't add it twice on the backend. So the problem here is, if you scroll up the documentation here. So it says here, local rights in your app will invoke listeners immediately. So what's happening here is it's firing twice, once locally and once when the server information is changed. So we can check and just fire it once. If we just use this code here, it just checks if it's a local change or a server change. And for us, we'll just fire it once it changes on the server. So let me just grab this piece of code and go over here. Let me add that and change it to const. And now, if I just wrap this in a conditional, if source equals server, we only want to do it once the server changes. And let me just put this in there. Cool. And now that should get rid of those errors. Doc is not defined. Let me refresh this. Okay. Sorry, this is change.doc. Okay, try again. Okay, so I'm going to add one, and it should add only once now. Okay, there you go. No errors, so adding is working and correctly listening. Cool. Okay, now let's work on updating. So down here, let me just remove this actually. Okay, so here for modifying or updating, all we have to do is context.commit update to do, and let's pass in what we want to update. So we want to pass in the ID, and that's change.doc.id. Title is change.doc.data.title, and completed is change.doc.data.completed. Okay, see if that works. Okay, I'm not sure why this one didn't refresh. Maybe it did. Okay, so let's update this one. And we have an error. Okay, so the problem here is our local state doesn't have a reference to the timestamp. So I'm here in Vue DevTools. I clicked on Vue.x here, and here's our to-dos array. And if you see here, each item does not have a timestamp. And that's what the error is referencing. So if I try to change this, it says undefined field timestamp. So let's go into our code, and right here in our mutation where we're just updating the state, let's just add a timestamp in here and just do a new date. And now let me actually just remove these and add them again. Okay. 1, 2, 3, and now if I go back into Vue DevTools, they should have timestamps now, and they do. Cool. And let's see if this error goes away. 3 changed, and that worked. Okay. So you saw it update here. Where is it? Which one is it? Right there. 3 changed, but it didn't update here. And if you look at the Vue DevTools for this, sorry, I'm getting kind of cramped here. Where's Vue DevTools? Sorry, there's no Vue DevTools because I'm in incognito. Let me do it the other way. So let me refresh this. Refresh both actually. Okay, so now it's 3 changed, but if I change it here, you'll see that the database gets updated right there, but this didn't get updated. So now if I look at the Vue DevTools in this one, let's look at, we're in our Vue.x, so this is our single source of truth. If you look here, it actually did update. See, it says 3 here, but still showing 3 changed here. The problem is we're not updating our component. So if you remember, we have a to-do item component, which is right here. And you can see the prop we're passing in. Okay, let's go to this one, sorry. The prop we're passing in changed, so 3 is the correct one, but the data did not change right here. It still shows 3 changed. So to fix that, all we have to do is go to to-do item and make a new watcher. So we want to watch when to-do, where's our props? Right there. To-do changes and update our data accordingly. So make a new one called to-do, and we just want to update those properties. So this dot title is this dot to-do dot title. So just update it with the new prop. And then this dot completed is this dot to do dot completed, and that should do it. Okay, so they both refreshed. Let's see now, if I change this, will this one change? And nothing happened. Let me just refresh. Is there an error? What's happening here? Alright, let's try again. Okay, there we go. It works now. You can see that both are synced up and working. Let me try checking it. Okay, let me try checking this one. Okay, try checking this one. And you can see that that check all works. If I uncheck all, awesome. Let's check if this pluralize still works actually. And it does, cool. Okay, now let's work on delete. So back to our store and back to over here. So let me remove this And I'm just going to call the mutations context.commit delete to do, and just going to give it the ID and see if that works. Okay, so let me delete twos, and as you can see, it removed 2 here, but it removed the 1 correctly. If I refresh it, you'll see that there should be 2 here. Okay, so the problem is if we go into our delete to do, sorry, not this one, this one. So let me just console log the index so we can see what's happening when we're deleting. So if I delete 3, see what happens. So we know that it fires twice, but the second time it returns -1, which means it didn't find it, but it still did the splice. And it removed 2 items instead of 1. So we just want to do a check and check if the index is greater than or equal to 0. So if we just do that, if index is greater than or equal to 0, then do that. That should work. Okay. Let me just add a few. 3. Okay. So now this should only delete the correct one. There you go. And everything looks like it's in sync. Cool. Okay, one more case I want to take a look at. If we change one of these, so I'm going to check this and refresh, you'll see that 2 is now on the bottom. So the reason for that is, let's do it again actually, and keep an eye over here. So you'll see that for 3, I only want to update whatever I'm changing. I don't want to update the timestamp, but it is going to update the timestamp. Just watch closely while I check this. You'll see the timestamp change. There you go, the timestamp changed. And now the order is out of whack because the timestamp changed. So what we can do is, actually, let me show you the documentation. When we're setting an object or when we're modifying an object, we can give it this merge option, and that's only going to merge it with whatever you give it and won't overwrite it. So let's go ahead and do that. So in here, when we're updating the collection, let's not pass in the timestamp, and let's pass in that merge option. So it's after the object. Right here, merge true. Was that it? Yes. Okay, so now let's see if this works. So 1, 2, 3. Let me just refresh. Let's go to 2. And now let's see if the timestamp does not get updated. And we check it. Cool. So only what we changed updates, and if we refresh, the order is maintained. Awesome. Let's double check. 2 changed. Cool. And that changed over there too, and everything looks good. Let's do a final check, make sure everything works and everything's in sync. Adding. Cool. We just tested modifying, but let's test it anyways. Okay, it syncs there. Adding changed. Cool. 3 changed. Awesome. Let's refresh to make sure if the order still works. And it does. Let's check all. Awesome. Let's uncheck. Cool. See if these are just local, so it's only going to change here. Awesome, still works. And let's see if clear completed works. And it does. Awesome. So there you have it, guys. We've managed to use Firebase and Firestore to give our application real-time synchronization across all of our clients. Definitely a cool feature that should be used when building apps with Firebase. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Okay, thanks. Bye.